What's up guys and welcome back. Today in this video we're going to be talking about the horror show Channel Zero. It's in its third season. It's a 6-episode anthology, so we're going to be reviewing the first episode. This video is going to talk about spoilers. I believe the first episode is available for free on YouTube right now, so I will link that in the description if I can find it. If you don't want to know any spoilers, I'd go and watch that and then come back, or just if you're not that bothered about spoilers, then go ahead and keep listening. So this show is on Sci-Fi in the UK, I think. I'm not sure what network it's on in America. And this is in its third season. The first episode aired on the 7th of February. Each season has 6 episodes and it's generally a different story. The stories are based on online fiction, mainly horror. I think it's all from the Creepypasta website. I'm not sure if that's a Reddit page or not. So this is the first episode of Butcher's Block and it's titled Insidious Onset. What I love about this show is it doesn't Hollywoodize everything. It's a lot more realistic in its tone and its atmosphere. It doesn't have these stunning models as the actors and the characters in the show. It's very realistic in those terms compared to something like American Horror Story anyway. So Butcher's Block is a part of America, I'm not quite sure. It's a very rundown area, it's like the slums, and there's just street art everywhere, and there's a lot of crime, and there's a lot of people who are living in like very bad circumstances. They don't have any money, there's drug addiction, all those kind of things. In the beginning of the episode, some kid goes missing straight away, so off the bat, you know, things are pretty messed up here. One of the first things that struck me in this episode was the music in the one of the first scenes. It sounded a lot like Cannibal Holocaust, if anyone else picked up on that. I don't know if this is going to be a recurring theme, if there is going to be some kind of cannibals or something along those lines in the season. It seems like we have two main characters, sisters. I think it's Alice and Zoe. One of the sisters, Zoe, has some kind of mental disorder. We don't really know what it is. It's something like psychosis, and it might be passed down from her mother. We don't really get to know what this is, so that's an interesting question going forward. So Alice, the other sister, is trying to get a job in, I think it's either something to do with the social services, and that's why she's gone to the area, because it's a very downtrodden area. And she hears about this myth about this white staircase where people go missing, and it sounds bizarre, and you get to see it on the screen, and this does play a big part in the later part of the episode. So like I said, in the beginning scene there's a murder of a kid, and I was not expecting this. There was a really small person, like a dwarf, in looked like a onesie, and it chased the guy with a mallet and just beat him to death, and I was not expecting that. It was very creepy. Usually something like that I would see it and I'd probably think it looked quite funny, but it was actually really creepy, which is one thing I must applaud Channel Zero for. It could go like American Horror Story and just throw comedy in your face, but it usually sticks to a certain tone and keeps that all the way through the season. Also, the little creepy guy with the mallet, that whole scene just reminded me of Troll 2 for some reason. If you've not seen Troll 2, it's like the worst, best, funniest movie ever, so go check that out. So the two sisters have moved to this area near Butcher's Block. I'm not sure what the area is called, and their first person they greet there is this woman who has bandages all over her hands, and she seems very crazy, and she just wants a pair of scissors, and we find out later on why she wants those scissors. She's absolutely batshit crazy. So straight off the bat we get introduced to characters that are just weird and creepy, which is always a good trope to fall for in horror, and yeah, I can't wait to see more of her character. So the girls move into this new big creepy house with their new landlord, who is a reporter who's writing a book about all the missing kids that are going on all over the decades of history of Butcher's Block, which is somehow connected to this big meat factory, Peach's Meats, which is in the centre of all of this place, which was run down. So we get to know a little bit more about how that's involved with all the kids, but not too much, which is another thing which keeps me hooked, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So the house that the sisters move into give me a vibe of Norman Bates and Psycho. There's loads of taxidermy and stuffed animals all over the place and all these antiques, and the house, the woman is playing like all this antique old music, classical music, and it just got the vibe of Psycho from that, which I really liked. Alice gets a call from her mother from a mental ward. You don't really know where she is until the camera pans out, but you know that something is off. She could be in jail or anything, but we don't know what's wrong with her. We know that she's done something bad because she keeps saying she was in a completely different mindset, and so we get a feeling that whatever she's done has been pretty bad, and it's probably affected the two kids. So as a taster, Alice goes around with this guy on like a taste of what's going on with the social services, and they actually go to this house about this woman who's, I think there's probably been reports that she's been beating her kids. So they go there, and this is probably one of the creepiest scenes of the whole episode. I was not expecting it. They go to the house, and there's a little girl, and she seems very compliant with everything her mum's saying, so she's obviously lying about something. But that wasn't the main creepy part. Alice is sitting there, and then the camera pans behind the wall, and there's just this bald, weird midget thing, which I don't even know what it looks like, but I think it's wearing like dungarees, like something Chucky would wear, and it's behind the wall, behind the breathing, and it's like sniffing, and then it just licks the wall in like a really close up of this gross tongue licking the wall like a cow's tongue, and I really loved that. It was very creepy. And at this point, Alice and the man go into a different room because Alice wants to tell the man that there's something in the walls, and they get locked in, and the kid and the mother go missing with a scream, so we don't know what happened to them. It's safely, we can assume that the midget or whoever's in control of these things has taken them. At this point, 2 police officers show up and investigating where they went, and they think that they're lying because the kids and the mother's trying to run away because of the allegations against them. And one thing that stood out to me was the second cop, the one who's in the background. He has like the worst mutton chop sideburns in the world. Like, no one would ever have that, so I'm pretty sure that guy's gonna die a very brutal death, most likely, just for his style of sideburns. So the episode starts to get a lot more intense after this point. Alice and Zoe are talking about the encounter with the wall and the kids and them going missing, and they decide to go back to the house. I don't know why they do that in this such a dangerous area where everyone is telling them it's dangerous, but I guess they really want to try and find out what happened to the kid. And at this point we see the crazy bandage woman again, and she finds a pair of scissors and she just tries to stab Zoe straight up, because I think it makes it out that she can sense that she's taking medication to restrain her illness, so maybe they are connected in some way. Maybe Zoe is originally from Butcher's Block, or her parents had something to do with it. I'm sure there's probably going to be some kind of connection. Attack, it brings up a flashback for Zoe, and we don't really get to know what happens, but it's with her mother, and she's like naked on a bed. It's very short, but then she's like, there's blood on the floor and someone hits the floor. I'm not sure what that was. If you know what that was, then let me know in the comment section. So there's definitely some deep-seated family issue that's happened in the past which has caused the girls to be the way they are, and I can't wait to see what happens with that. So if you have any theories about that, then let me know. One thing that I liked about it is just the location. Usually when you see a horror film, it's set in a creepy mansion or the forest or any number of things like that. And this one, the way it's shot as well, it's set in just like it looks like a normal block. You see other houses across the road, you see people, and it just feels weird that a place so localized can be creepy, which I guess in reality is true. Creepy things and bad things happen everywhere. It just doesn't happen just in haunted mansions. Those kind of things happen all the time, which is probably going to be a big theme in the show, because all the things that aren't to do with the supernatural are still really bad. Like the drug addiction, the family stuff, the like beating the kids, all that kind of stuff is like the evil on the surface. So you're getting evil with supernatural, and then you're still getting the bad stuff, and it's hard to compare which is worse at some points. So Zoe sees the dwarf bald guy through the window and decides to follow him for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think she thinks it was the kid because it's wearing the same little onesie. She follows the kid and she comes across the staircase. The way the staircase looks and that shot with the dwarf thing at the bottom of the steps, she looks so cool. Like, I can't wait to find out what's at the top of the stairs. So Zoe approaches what she thinks is the girl, and it turns out to be, like I said, the bald thing that was in the wall, and it takes its hood down, and this thing was just grotesque. I couldn't tell if it was actually a kid or it was a 40-year-old man. It looked like a mixture between Vern Troyer and Jason Voorhees from one of the Friday the 13th movies, and this thing was just making weird noises, and I think it had like a snarl and like it laughed at one point. That whole scene was just creepy, and I loved it. Meanwhile, Alice is looking in the park as well, and she finds the shack under the tree, and I thought this was funny as well, because it's on one side of the shack there was all these toys like bouncy balls and things, and on the other side there was like hatchets and weapons. So if these things are children, or at least like with a childlike mentality, they're like playing with the toys one second, the next minute they're going to pick up like a hatchet and kill someone, or a mallet. I just thought that was really funny. Now this was a surprise. A character shows up and confronts Alice and asks her what she's doing out there, and for a second I couldn't tell who it was, and then I realised it was actually Rutger Hauer. You might know him from the original Blade Runner. He played Roy Batty, and he's also the Hitcher, and I think he played the vampire in the remake of Salem's Lot as well. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a great actor, and it was a surprise to see him show up on the screen. I wasn't expecting that at all. He plays Joseph Peach, which I think he's the founder of the company, which seems bizarre because the company was founded 80-90 years ago, so the guy would be in his hundreds, so there's obviously something supernatural going on there. Then the show gets very supernatural and psychological. out of the doorway from the top of the stairs, this huge meat monster. That's the only way I can explain it. It looked like it was made from like the hanging cow, basically. On its head it had like little tendril things. It kind of reminded me of a slug's head. Each season seems to have like a weird monster. The first one had the tooth monster, and this one looks like an even cooler rendition of a monster. This one is big, and it doesn't speak. We don't know what it is or what it does, so I cannot wait to see more of that and what it has to do with the weird dwarf things and what's on top of the staircase. So the monster comes down and leads the dwarf child thing up the stairs, and it just makes me want to see what's going on behind those doors. It looks like he's because there's a classic music playing, it looks like it's leading him into some weird dinner party, which I would love to see. So that's basically the gist of the episode. After this point, I'm probably not going to try and explain what happens in the episode so much and just talk about my thoughts on it. And at the end, Joseph Peach shows himself up to Zoe, and we find out that he in fact should be 130 years old. So obviously there's a mystery. We have to find out why Joseph is still alive. So overall, I really liked the episode. I think this premiere for the season has probably been my favourite so far. Season 2 didn't really have a purpose. It was really good, and I liked the emotional scenes and stuff. I liked the acting in between the dad and stuff. And the first season was good as well, but I think this season has potential to be the best one so far. So there's lots of mysteries that we have to work out. What's going to happen? So we don't know about Joseph's age, how he's alive. We don't know what Zoe's illness is, or how she contracted it, or what actually happened with the mother. And there's just lots of things. We still don't know what happened to the landlord, his brother, who went missing. So maybe we'll get to see that in some scenes in like flashback episodes. Overall, those have been my thoughts on the first episode of Butcher's Block. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your theories down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the show as a whole. Have you seen the first 2 seasons? If you haven't, I highly recommend you go check them out. They're only 6 episodes each. Thank you all for watching. I guess I'll see you next time.